Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to part 9 of this WordPress for Beginners series. Today what we're going to do is we're just going to jump right in and configure all-in-one SEO. We talked about doing that in a previous video, and so in this one, that's what we're going to do. So let's just go right into the general settings to start. And in here, first thing it's going to ask you for is upgrade for a license key. We're not going to do that in this one. We're just going to use the light version, which is the one that you can just download and then start configuring right away. So right off top here we have canonicalized URLs. I kind of explained this in a video prior to this one, but essentially this stops your site from having duplicate content penalties in Google, because sometimes if your site has a www version and a non, and there's lots of ways actually that you can get duplicate content by accident in your site, and so this is going to help with that. You want to leave that checked. No pagination for canonical URLs. This is unchecked by default. I think what we'll do is we'll leave it unchecked. Use original title. We definitely want this disabled. It's using whatever title is used by the theme, and this is disabled by default, which is good because we want to be able to set the titles at the page level through all-in-one SEO and through right here in the homepage settings. So we're going to leave that off. Log important events. You can turn this on if you want. It's for mainly for debugging. But I'm going to leave it off in this particular case. So, okay, so this is the homepage settings. This is actually what search engines see when they just visit your root of your website, just your .com, no inner page. And the way we set this actually was, remember we went into settings, and in our general, we changed the site description and title right here. Okay, well, these actually override whatever your homepage is. So when we set our homepage to this front page, when we created this homepage and then we went into the privacy, or the reading, and we set that as our homepage, it started using these settings in the general settings, the site title and the tagline for SEO. Well, in all-in-one SEO, it uses, if we enable or disable the static front page, this doesn't disable the page from being our static front page that we chose. It just disables using the title and description that you have set in your general settings of your WordPress, and instead it's going to use what's right here, which is what we want to do. So in this case, we would just say Bob's New Flowers Shop, not ship. And then we would just say, you could give it the best description that you can. Like, say that you're in Chicago, right? You would say, or Bob's Flowers Flower Shop in all of Chicago. Okay, now of course when you're doing this, you'd want to figure out what your target keyword is, and that's the one you would do, because you'd probably end up doing like Bob's Flower Shop, the Chicago Flowers, or something like that, because you want people to know the area. But this is going to use this as your new homepage default. So that we want to leave disabled right there, and we want to put those in so it'll use those. So in the title settings, this is a pretty interesting part, because what it's wanting you to do is it's wanting to figure out how you want your titles done for SEO, and that's what shows up in the top bar here, like how I have this Google search for Nofollow. We're actually going to use that here in a second to show you how something works in this plugin. But see how the title just set, or like in the front end of our site, for example, let's just go there. So on the front end of the site, it's going to say Bob's New Flowers, and then it's going to say New Flowers all day, every day, because we put that in the general settings, remember? And we haven't saved this yet, so that's why it's not displaying. If we save this, this would change to what we have in the all-in-one SEO pack. But this is the way it's trying to display it on, once we save, on inner page titles and post titles and archive titles, and basically in the whole site. And if you don't want your site's title to be duplicated every single time in every single post that you do, you could get rid of this, or you could leave it. So if you want your page title, like for example, if somebody went to your About Us page and you didn't want it to say About Us, Bob's New Flowers, you could pull this out and it wouldn't do that, because every single page they visit is going to have this after it. That's all this is doing, is it's putting the page title, and then it's putting this bar, right, this pipe, and then it's putting the site title. And maybe for local that works, but for broader SEO as a whole, like if you're doing really advanced blogging and stuff like that, sometimes it's better to pull this stuff out. So all you'd have to do is just delete it. And now when you make a post, it's just the post title. So if you made a post that said Mother's Day, best Mother's Day flower bouquets, right? That's all it's going to say in the title bar. It's not going to say best Mother's Day flowers bouquets, a pipe, and then Bob's New Flowers. So that's really what this is doing. That's this whole section right here. And then in the content type settings, it's asking you for what kind of content you want SEO on. And in this particular case, we're doing posts and pages. And I usually leave it as that unless I'm trying to rank say a picture or an image inside your website, because believe it or not, that's another good way to get people into your site, is to heavily SEO your images. But that's a whole other thing in itself. And so usually this is okay to be left just like this. Display settings. This is asking you to show column labels for custom post types, and like it says here, it lets you select which screens display the SEO titles, SEO keywords, and SEO descriptions. This is fine to be left exactly like this as well. That's about usually where you're going to use it. Webmaster Verification. For anybody not familiar with this, this is there's each company, Google, Microsoft, I guess Pinterest now, Yandex and Baidu, which are big search engines as well. They all have search consoles where you can go create an account. You just use your Gmail, your Google account, and then you can add your website to their console, and then the console will give you a code you can put in here, and you'll put your search console code here to verify your site, and then that's what it wants to do. It'll ask you, because obviously in order for Google to track it and show you data, you need to verify it to you, and then it'll give you, you can create a Google Analytics for your site on the same console that will track real-time users and visitors into your website. This is pretty easy to set up with Google, and it doesn't cost anything, so it's usually a good idea. The only time this is not a good idea is if for any reason you don't want Google to know that you own multiple sites, and it's not for anything devious or mischievous. It's just saying that, say you don't want them to know that you own this flower shop site and this whatever, maybe it's like some affiliate website or something. You don't want to put those in the same Google console. I can't prove that it ranks you lower or that it hurts you, but sometimes it's better to keep it separate anyway. And so, but in the case of doing like just a local business or something, it's okay to usually have it help you out, because it is pretty big help. So schema.org markup, go ahead and leave this enabled. I won't really go over that much, but just go ahead and leave that enabled. Display site links, search box, we want that as well. That's those one site links in Google, like when it shows your, I don't think I have one up in here, but it shows like your main site, and then sometimes it'll have a dropout that shows people's inner pages and stuff like that. So you want to leave that, so in the case that Google lets you have those, they're in there. Social profile links, this is if you want to add one per line, and sometimes they're used in rich search results in Google. So if you have them for your business or for what you're building, you can put them in there. And then same thing here, it's asking whether your website is for a person or an organization. And remember, a lot of this stuff you don't even have to fill out. It's completely up to you whether you want it to or not. I should have probably said that up higher, which is, most of this is all optional. It's really at your discretion if you even want to put a lot of this information in. That'd be up to you and based on if you want this for your business. I know that Google also likes to reward businesses that give more and more information because they're more legitimate, especially more legitimate looking, rather than somebody who throws up a business website and refuses to give any information on the business at all. It's probably not a real business, or at least maybe it's a starting of a business, but they'll see it as not real. So, okay, no index. So you have two options here. You have no index and you have no follow. Each do something different. No index is you attempting to tell whatever search engine is coming in that you don't want it to index this into their indexes. And even though you tell it not to index, a lot of times I have a suspicion that they index it anyway. They just don't display it. So that's really all you're telling it to do, is you're saying, hey, like for example, if you didn't want it to index any of your media or your images and all that, you would select this and it would not index any of it, meaning it wouldn't show it in the indexes if somebody searched up your site. Nofollow is you telling the search engine to ignore certain links on pages, don't follow them. So that's if you're not wanting the search engine to give certain weight or value to links in a page. Like if you're linking to, say you're like linking to Wikipedia or something and you don't want to give it any, you don't want the search engine to leave your site to go out to that, then you would just nofollow. But in this case, it's asking you if you want it to nofollow your posts or anything like that. We're just going to leave all these indexed and off for now. But if you ever wanted to set anything specific, like do not follow to any of my attachments or media, you could do that right here. If you wanted to not follow any of your posts, you could do it right here. And then also this can be set at the individual link level as well. This is just trying to categorize, all your pages or all your posts to do it. So, but we're not going to do that. We want it to index. So use no index for categories. Yeah, you can leave that. You don't really want it to index for categories. You really don't want it to do your date archives or your author archives. And then all this stuff is optional as well for your tag archives. No index for your search page and your 404 page and your paginated users and posts and all that stuff. And I think that all this stuff is fine to be left default too. And if you're interested, you can always go in and read the documentation on what any of this particular stuff, if you really are interested in why you should use it or why you shouldn't. Because sometimes when you build a website, you're going to have specific things you don't want it to do. But for the basic business website, most of the stuff that's set in here by default is good enough. So auto-generating descriptions, we don't want to do that. We want to type in our own descriptions. We don't want it to create its own. Remove descriptions for paginated pages, we'll leave that off. Never short and long descriptions. All this stuff in the advanced, you're probably never going to touch it unless you have a really good reason to do so. Exclude pages, this is if you want to exclude or not do SEO on certain things. We don't want that in this case. And then all this additional page headers and stuff, you're not really going to be too, you're not really going to need to use either. Use keywords. I'm going to go ahead and enable this. A lot of people tell you don't use keywords, and by the way, I don't want to dynamically generate them for that either. You don't really want to. But a lot of people say don't use them because you'll get penalized or something for it, but I've never really seen that. Just don't over spam them is the main thing. Okay, so we updated that. So when we go back, as you know, we changed these. So when we go back here and we refresh it, it's actually going to change. See, now it says Bob's New Flower Shop. So now it's using these versus the default general settings, and that's what we wanted to do. So at the page level, say that we wanted to change our About Us SEO, you would actually go into this page by clicking Edit, and then it's going to take you into the regular page editor, which is the new Gutenberg style. But down at the bottom, if you scroll, see it's going to have all-in-one SEO pack, and this is where you can set your stuff at the page level. So you can say, this is the About Us, and you can set whatever you want. It's just going to use About Us because it's defaulting to the page's title, but you can set it here, and then you can add the description, About Us, and keywords. And so keywords, don't go crazy with these, just like do a few that make sense to the page. This is usually what you'll get penalized if you spam it, because in the old days of SEO, you just spam this and you would rank really well until they figured out that that was not the best idea. Custom canonical URL, you'll almost never use this. No index, we're not going to do that, but if you wanted a page to be built where it would not be indexed and not followed, you would do these. Exclude it from the sitemap. We're going to talk about the sitemap in just a second, and then the sitemap priority and disable on this page post. You can disable SEO for this entire page post. And that's really it. That's how you do it on each and every individual page, and posts will have these as well. So just really quick, we're going to cover a few more things. The first one is the performance tab. You're never really going to use this too much unless you're having to raise memory limits or execution times, which is a kind of more advanced feature anyway, so for debugging. But you are going to want to use the sitemap, and this comes enabled as an add-on for all-in-one SEO. A sitemap is just a XML markup. It's just a way, it's more of a really simple text file that gets created that shows Google all the pages in your site and all the posts. It's a great way for the search engine to read your site and to get updated more quickly than having to recrawl your entire site. So we're not going to do the RSS one, but you can if you want. And then scheduling updates. Let's say that we wanted to crawl it daily. We could just say daily. Enable sitemap, yes. All this stuff you can really leave completely default. And then what you want to do is at the bottom, just make sure to hit update your sitemap. And so now the sitemap will exist at your site /sitemap.xml. If you can see down in the bottom left when I hover on this. And if you go to it, you're going to see it's just a really simple XML file. All it is a list of URLs and when they were last changed. So this lets Google know when pages are updated in your site and things like that. It's pretty simple. The sitemap's pretty easy. So we're going to do one more thing here, which is we're going to go into the feature manager and we're going to add on a feature, a free feature, which is the robots.txt. And I just kind of want to explain why you would want to use it. So after you add that in, it's going to add this robots.txt file. Inside this, if you go ahead in that, so a robots.txt file, this is how it looks when search engines come into your site. They're supposed to search for a robots.txt file. User agent is the bot, is the search bot. So that would be Bing bot, Yahoo, all of them, right? Google bot, all the bots that are automatically searching your site. And disallowing is where you tell it you don't want it to index or go. Disallowing says, hey, you can't go here, because all of them look to this file to what they're supposed to do. This is kind of their rules for your website. It's telling them where the sitemap is. It's telling them don't go here, and it's telling them it can allow them to go into here. So by default, if you want to have it disallowed on anything in your site, you can set it here, but also you could do that just through the no follow, no index portion as well. But that's basically all that this is doing. Is it's saying all user agents. This is a wildcard, so it's saying all user agents, you're disallowed from going here. So Bingbot, all you guys, don't go here. And the reason it doesn't want that is because that's your login page for your administrative. So you don't want it to show that in the search engine. This is basically what's happening right here. So as far as configuring your all-in-one SEO, that's pretty much it. It's just, especially in this light version, just make sure that you go through and set the settings the way that we kind of talked about. And at the page level, you can do it down here so that you have a little bit of SEO done on your sites. And I think that what we'll do in the upcoming tutorial or the upcoming video, maybe one of the next parts, is we're going to talk a little more about best on-site SEO practices, which I think will couple up pretty well with this video, so that you can do, that you're doing everything you possibly can do to SEO your site for being right out the gate. So it's not something that your settings are wrong or your settings are bad, because you want to come out the gate strong with SEO, and that's kind of why we're doing this the way we're doing this anyway, so that when you load your site up to the live server and it heads out there, it's got everything set right from the get-go. So I think that's going to wrap us up for part 9 here. I just wanted to talk about all-in-one SEO, setting up your XML sitemap, your robots, and then a little bit about what each setting is in here. Just a real quick overview on how to set it up. In the next one, we'll probably go into a little more advanced on-page SEO. So as usual, hit the like, hit the subscribe, shoot me a comment if you have any questions about anything, and I'll do my best to answer it. And I'll see you guys in part 10.